Iran on the brink, the U.S. naval blockade entering day 3, cutting off all shipping into and out of Iran. President Trump telling Maria Bartiromo the conflict is close to over. The Wall Street Journal now reporting the two sides have agreed in principle to meet, but have not yet decided on a date or a venue. So that might be a little bit of progress. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Morning to you on a Wednesday, Dana. Good morning at home. I'm Bill Hemmer. U.S. officials telling the Wall Street Journal more than 20 commercial ships have been allowed through the strait in the past 24 hours. CENTCOM reporting 6 ships have been turned back and that meaning 0 unauthorized ships have made it past the U.S. blockade.
President Trump exerting maximum pressure as he pushes to end Iran's nuclear ambitions.
This whole thing is really about no nuclear. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if they're going to have a nuclear weapon, we'll be living with them for a little while, but I don't know how much longer they can survive. We could take out every one of their bridges in 1 hour. We could take out every one of their power plants, electric power plants, in 1 hour. We don't want to do that because someday you're going to have to rebuild.
All right, so here we go. New hour begins now. Jacqui Heinrich reports from the White House. Trey Yingst reports from Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where we begin this hour in the Middle East with you, Trey. Hello.
Bill, good morning. It's been 46 days since Operation Epic Fury began, and for now, the ceasefire between Israel, the United States, and Iran is holding as diplomatic efforts play out. This week, President Trump indicated that direct talks between the United States and Iran could resume as early as this week. Overnight, he told Fox News that the economic impact of the war was actually lower than he anticipated, and he sees the conflict as being over soon.
I mean, honestly,
You thought it was gonna be
I thought
worse.
there'd be much, and I was willing to do that, to stop a nuclear weapon to be used against this country or the Middle East, anybody in the Middle East. They were going to take out the Middle East. To stop that, it was certainly worthwhile, being much higher than it is right now. If you told me that we were going to be at only $92 a barrel, $92 a barrel, I would have been very surprised.
The president's comments come as U.S. Central Command continues to block Iranian ports with more than a dozen support vessels. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper explained the impact of this move, saying, quote, a blockade of Iranian ports has been fully implemented as U.S. forces maintain maritime superiority in the Middle East. An estimated 90% of Iran's economy is fueled by international trade by sea. In less than 36 hours since the blockade was implemented, U.S. forces have completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea. Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesman held a press conference today saying that no ceasefire extension was agreed to yet. He added that Iran has formulated a response to the initial U.S. ceasefire proposals. As Fox previously reported, there are thousands of additional U.S. forces headed to the region, the majority of them aboard the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier strike group. Now, diplomatic efforts are ongoing to try and find a permanent ceasefire to this conflict, but those military preparations continue. Bill?
Got it, Trey. Thank you, sir. Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Dana.
And President Trump claims the conflict with Iran could be over soon, and he's teasing another round of possible talks with Iranian leaders in Pakistan. Jacqui Heinrich with more from the White House. A little bit of news here, Jacqui.
Yeah, Dana, the president told ABC News very late last night that he is not considering extending the ceasefire because there's going to be an amazing 2 days ahead. Potentially a nod to these talks reportedly coming together in the next few days. But while that plays out, the White House is also setting the record straight, saying that the U.S. is not considering an extension of the ceasefire. This is the statement here. The United States has not formally agreed to an extension of the ceasefire. There's continued engagement between the U.S. and Iran to reach a deal. Nevertheless, the president says the finish line is in sight.
Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
The president also told the New York Post he was not happy about reports the U.S. asked Iran to suspend its nuclear program for just 20 years in the last round of talks, telling the outlet, quote, I've been saying they can't have nuclear weapons, he said, so I don't like the 20 years. President Trump told Maria Bartiromo he believes oil prices will drop fast as soon as the war is over, but the energy secretary also tells Fox that is likely a few weeks away.
Yes, look, we have gasoline prices today over $4 a gallon, still $1 less than they were in the Biden administration, and we're ending a 47-year conflict with Iran. So this is the road to more secure and lower long-term energy supplies, but it does mean higher prices today, probably means higher prices for a few more weeks.
Adding to that, the Treasury Department says it is not going to renew the sanctions waiver on Iranian oil exports. It expires 4 days from now. That will sharply constrain Iran's ability to export oil in addition to the U.S. blockade on the ports, and that will sharply curtail China's access to Iranian oil. Dana.
All right, lots of moves today. Jacqui, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.